So I did something utterly brilliant. I bought a pub? Yes, you heard that right. Jeremy Clarkson, purveyor of speed, consumer of beer, now a proud proprietor of a public house. It seemed like a good idea at the time. A place to escape to, a haven for ale enthusiasts, a potential gold mine. I imagined myself pulling pints, chatting with locals, and enjoying the fruits of my investment. The pub itself was a charming old thing, nestled in the Cotswolds. It had history, character, and a name that sounded vaguely rude if you said it too quickly. Perfect. I envisioned roaring fires, lively chatter, and endless pints of locally brewed ale. Or so I thought. Little did I know, my journey into the world of pub ownership would begin with a rather unwelcome surprise. The reality of running a pub was far more complex than I had anticipated. The initial excitement quickly gave way to a series of challenges. From dealing with suppliers to managing staff, it was a steep learning curve, and then there was the building itself. While it had undeniable charm, it also had its fair share of issues: leaky roofs, creaky floors, and a plumbing system that seemed to belong to another century. But I was determined. I had grand visions of transforming this quaint establishment into the heart of the community. I even had grand plans for a car park extension, naturally. However, fate, it seems, had other plans. Plans that involved a lot less beer and a lot more rodents. Yes, an infestation problem that would make anyone think twice about ordering a pint. But as they say, every cloud has a silver lining, and in this case, the challenge of turning this pub around became an adventure in itself. Stay tuned to see how this story unfolds. Now, I've encountered my fair share of creatures in my time. Cows, sheep, that particularly angry llama on the farm next door. But nothing could have prepared me for the sheer volume of rats that had taken up residence in my new establishment. It was like something out of a horror film, only less scary and more disgusting. They were everywhere. In the cellar behind the bar, even doing the Macarena on the pool table. Okay, maybe not that last one. It was clear that these rodents had been having a right royal knees up while the pub was closed. And they weren't shy about it either. They scurried, they squeaked, they left little presents in places you really wouldn't want to find little presents. They gnawed on the furniture, leaving bite marks everywhere. They built nests in the corners using anything they could find. They even had the audacity to run across the bar counter as if they owned the place. It was clear that drastic measures were needed. Traps were set, and the battle against the rats began. We even had to call in a professional pest control team to handle the situation. After a thorough cleaning and sanitizing, the pub was finally rat-free. It was a long and arduous process, but in the end, we reclaimed our beloved pub from the clutches of the rat infestation. Something had to be done. This was a full-blown infestation, and I'm not talking about the type you get on a slow news day. I needed a solution, and fast. So naturally, I did what any rational person would do in this situation. I panicked. Then I called in a professional. Actually, scratch that. I tried a few things myself first. Let's just say my methods were unconventional. There may have been a flamethrower involved, and a very confused terrier, and possibly a tuba. It's all a bit of a blur, to be honest. The point is, nothing seemed to work. These rats were like tiny, furry ninjas, experts in evasion and general mischief. Section 4. The pub quirks, charms, and other discoveries. Despite the rodent invasion, I couldn't help but be charmed by the old girl. The pub had a certain magic, a blend of history and mystery that drew you in. The pub had character, that certain je ne sais quoi that only comes with years of spilled beer and questionable life choices. It was a place where every corner seemed to whisper secrets of the past. I discovered hidden nooks and crannies, each with its own story to tell. These were places where patrons had laughed, cried, and perhaps even fallen in love. There was the snug where, legend had it, a famous author had penned his best-selling novel, or at least started it before getting distracted by the darts. The walls seemed to echo with the clinks of glasses and the murmur of hushed conversations. There was the beer garden, overgrown but full of potential, where I could envision summer barbecues and perhaps the odd impromptu game of cricket. It was a space that begged for laughter and lazy summer afternoons. And then there was the cellar, which, once it was rodent-free, promised to be a treasure trove of vintage wines and spirits. It was a hidden gem waiting to be rediscovered and appreciated by those who knew where to look. Section 5, the grand reopening, a night of chaos and beer. After weeks of hard work, a small army of exterminators and enough disinfectant to sink a battleship, the pub was finally ready for its grand reopening. I'd like to say it went off without a hitch, but this is me we're talking about. Let's just say there was beer, there was laughter, and there may have been a minor incident involving a karaoke machine, a very competitive game of darts, and a lampshade on my head, but that's a story for another time. The important thing was the pub was alive again, filled with the sounds of merriment and the comforting aroma of hops and barley.